What do you think are the exercises that are being used or going on, or you're utilizing with your elite level athletes, whether it's, your V17 boulderer like Aidan, or Olympic qualification athletes that are most effective at the moment? That's particular training methodology, exercises, or maybe even tools. Are there things that you feel like at the moment are really making a difference?
I can think of a few things which stand out, which are, I'm definitely, picking stuff that is quite nice to think of different things, but actually, I'll definitely caveat this with the basic work is the work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say that these things are the game changers.
Everyone loves a game changer though, Ollie.
Yeah, I know. This is what I'm saying.
They're waiting right now going, he's gonna tell me the answer.
So it's one thing that I do with pretty much all my athletes now, and I'm lucky to only work with elite athletes at the moment, is I smash their shoulders all the time, particularly in base phase, and I'm talking like a lot of smashing the shoulders.
When we say smash, this is like smashing a British training coach.
Yeah. So I'm talking volume. I'm talking volume intensity, and so easy way to envision it is, okay, which way does your shoulder work? So your shoulder is involved in pushing your hand forward. Well, I'm going to say the movement of the hand, and then you can imagine what the shoulder's doing in reaction to this. So hand going forward, hand going downwards, the hand going up towards the ceiling, the hand going backwards, so from in front to your shoulder, then going outwards and rotating. So what does that mean? Good exercise, good workout, chest press, tricep dips, low row, pull-ups, shoulder rotations, lateral raise. All of those things are just hitting every side of the shoulder. So any problem, any sort of climbing movement that comes up, the shoulder's worked in that range. You can do quite a high volume of it. You want to be working the aerobic muscles in those shoulders so they can recover quickly. You can work the strength in those ranges, particularly the rotator cuff. Standard, everyone knows this. Climbers are generally internal rotators. Let's get external rotators. But the amount that I do is quite a lot with all my athletes. And I try and do that throughout the base season. You can do 2 of those sessions a week, try and get as much in as possible. And it's really easy just to add in as a separate conditioning session. It doesn't usually take away from climbing if you do it afterwards. And it doesn't add a huge amount of fatigue to following days. So that would be one thing. Another thing would be the active mobility on the lower legs. Once again, everything from pulling in with your toes, like how strong are your feet when your toes, being able to pull in with your hamstrings and compress, really easy to overlook. Does take a bit more effort to have buy-in, but the bigger the range, the bigger the strength in that range, the better you're going to be. And I think that's definitely applicable. And then I guess one thing is getting used to weird holds now, and that's more comp athletes. So comp athletes is I used to climbing on no text holds. Like you saw in the recent World Cups, people have to wet their hands. We're not at that point yet, but we spend a lot of time on different holds and a huge amount of time on slabs, just padding around on slabs, balancing between holds, getting used to what you can get away with standing on. And that's a massive thing to do.
Wholeheartedly agree with those answers, and they very much resonate with my own thoughts of stuff that makes a bit more difference or is actually transferring across into performance when you're talking about the elite end. But I also want to always caveat that stuff with actually still, when it comes down to it, and this transfers all the way down to your mid-level climber and your lower level climber as well, is that even after 10 years of me and you trying to work right at this elite end, all the way from our Sheffield Raven Tour crimping specialists through to people trying to qualify for the Olympics, there still are really no secret hacks or things that we've gone, oh my goodness, that has totally changed the game. It's just little tweaks and moderations that you then incorporate into your training practice and how you work with athletes. But the bit that I think when you talk about that specifically, it really does make the difference. And you see this with, myself and you, and I think some of the most other really experienced trainers around the world, is that we're now the function of decades plus experience of incorporating all these new training methods that have come across from sports science, and we've kind of integrated a certain amount of practice in them with multiple people, and we understand what the outputs are. So I think there's a really interesting thing going on in coaching now, where it's no longer kind of a bit more guesswork and a bit more uninformed, because the high end of sport climbing or bouldering is so new in terms of coaching and training. It's actually reasonably well established now. So we've got a decent depth of history of using those things, and we're like a hive mind of all of us understanding how all this stuff works. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think we're probably coming full circle back to some of the old methodologies and understanding why they actually worked. And I do think there's still a bit of a magpie effect, like even in the office here. I think there's a debate on, stuff like arcing. There's a debate on intent, like endurance, for example. But I think the thing that we've probably got on our side is all of the particular exercises or genre of exercise or style of movement or whatever, they all have their own caveats, such as skin being worn out, time on the rock, motivation, have you got the right facilities? I think if you've not coached people in that scenario with that time availability, you can't add those caveats immediately. And sometimes it does restrict your open-mindedness, and you have to pull back from that. But I think, the sports science, even that's coming out now, particularly like constantly being updated on stuff that's new and what's the best practice, you've got so much knowledge or baggage almost of what the athletes will and won't do and how actually they all respond to those things. It does mean that you can make decisions quicker. Brilliant example of Steve Redgrave, book Supporting a Champion. I think he said to one of the sports scientists who asked him what we want, or what do you think helps you perform? And he said, at this Olympics, we did loads of mileage and we just focused on mileage, low intensity, and we won. At this Olympics, they changed everything. We did loads of HIIT training, loads of interval stuff, and we won. This one, we did loads of mileage, and then we did high intensity polarized, and then we came together and we won. He's like, at the end of the day, we're grafting and we're just doing the work and we'll win. And I thought that was a really good idea, is they know what they are willing to do. And there's all these different methods of doing it, but fundamentally they were rowing a boat a lot. They're doing a lot of technique stuff, and they were doing a lot of high intensity volume. And I think that's what we've got to come back to. What's the things that you're going to be able to do consistently, and what makes the biggest difference?